Hey everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to another edition of Twisted Sisters. Be sure to check out the playlist at the end of this video to see all the other cool ideas from the other Twisted Sisters. This month, I have chosen to twist the Sawyer papers. So when you initially look at the Sawyer papers, you think girly and flowers and BFF and best friends. And I'm going to twist this collection and show a masculine side to it. Okay, so I'm going to use these two top pieces of Sawyer pattern papers along with rustic sign. I'm going to use the sign and some of the sentiments and then some other stamp sets that I'll get to as I get there. Okay, so I'm going to start out by using some craft cardstock and I'm going to stamp my sign in mocha ink. Okay, so we'll get that stamped down. And then there's a coordinating thin cut to this image. And then I'll stamp the little rope hanger that goes with the sign, also in mocha on craft cardstock. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in a piece of this Sawyer paper and I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/4 by 4 so that I can leave a border of colored cardstock around it. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in some shortbread and this will be my base. So I'm going to trim that down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is the size of an A2 card. And then I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday. This is from Festive Borders. And I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday in Harbor ink on this other piece of Sawyer pattern paper. And then I'll cut that out with the coordinating thin cut. Okay. All right, now I'm going to bring in my Big Shot and we can cut some images out. So first I'm going to cut out the Happy Birthday. We'll run that through. And then after I run it through, I'm going to do a little surgery to this image. You'll see in a second. Run that through. And then I'm going to cut out my rustic sign with the coordinating thin cuts. Get those run through. And then I'm going to use the stitched rectangle frames. And I'm going to cut out, it's the medium-sized frame, and I'm going to cut this out using shortbread to get a little frame. Okay. And then I'm going to measure this frame. It's about 3 by 4 because I'm going to lay it down on top of this piece of Sawyer pattern paper. Okay. Now we've got most of the components to our card and we can start building it. So I have a side fold A2 size card. And I'm going to lay down the shortbread. And then I decided to rough up the edges of this frame. And this is an older tool from Close to My Heart, but you can use the edge of your scissors to kind of rough up the edges of your cardstock. And then I'm going to distress the edges of my shortbread base using mocha ink and a sponge, or you could use a sponge dauber as well to just kind of ink the edges and kind of make it look distressed and aged. And then I'll put down this piece of Sawyer. Okay. And then I'm going to lay down that other piece of Sawyer. And then before I put my frame down, I decided to distress and ink up the edges, the inside edges of this frame to make it look a little bit more aged. Okay, so we'll lay that down with some Tombow. We'll get that down. And then this is where I'm going to do a little surgery. So I'm just going to trim my sentiment so that it's going to fit on that sign. So I'm just rounding the edges with my scissors and just cutting these images apart. So I have happy and then birth and then day, so they can all fit on my sign. And then I'll get those added down with some Tombow aqua glue. Pretty simple. So all of these supplies are currently available in my online store, and I will make a list with links in the description below. Okay, so now I'm going to add my sign using some foam tape, and then I'll add that little rope hanger with some Tombow. And then the last thing to add are some embellishments. And I have these arrow embellishments. They're wood arrows. And I'm going to put a couple of those on the front of the card. And I'll attach those with glue dots. And there's my finished card. So you can take a girly paper and make it masculine. So that's the first card. Okay, let's make another one. Okay, same thing. I'm going to stamp my sign in mocha ink on craft cardstock. Get those stamped down along with the rope hanger. And then I'm going to take some shortbread and I'm going to stamp thank you in Harbor ink. And then I'll bring in my trimmer and trim this up. So it's not any specific size, I'm just kind of trimming around the image. I want it small enough to fit on that sign. And then I'm going to bring in my edge distresser again and rough up the edges all the way around on this image. And again, you could use the edge of your scissors to do the same thing. Just rough it up. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some mocha ink and sponge around those roughed up edges. So it looks aged and distressed. Okay, I'll bring in my Big Shot and go ahead and cut out the sign and the hanger. And then I'm going to cut out some of this patterned paper using the Stitched Fancy brackets. This is the largest bracket in that set. Okay, so now I have all the components for my card, and I'm going to cut the base, deciding if I want to do landscape or portrait, and it's going to be portrait, a side fold A2 card. So I'm going to cut out some more of this Sawyer paper at 5 1/4 by 4, and then my base is going to be craft cardstock, and that I'm cutting at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to distress the edges of this paper as well. And then I'll get that on my card base. So again, it's an A2 side fold. I'll put this piece of craft down using Tombow tape runner. And then I decided to add some ink to the edges of this Sawyer paper as well. So that's inked up with mocha. And then I'll place that down. Just adds a little more definition to the edges of that lighter colored paper. Put this bracket down. And then my sign down. Pretty simple, just layering everything up. and that little hanger. And then I'll pop my little thank you using some phone tape. And then to finish it up, I'm going to add some of these wood arrows as well. All right, get that finished up and use some glue dots. Okay, so I appreciate you watching my video today. Here's my finished card. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And again, if you'd like to check out some of the other cool things that the Twisted Sisters have done this month, please click on the playlist at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.